What is this? Johnny Kane podcast here, man, live from Uptown in Dallas, Texas, the Compton section of Uptown in Dallas, Texas, in the great state of Texas. So every single one of us has a timeline. We are in the process of rolling through it right now. Every second of every minute of every day. And some things are within our control and other things are not in our control. Now, as you navigate your way through your own personal timeline, trust me, I know like anybody else that there are all kinds of curveballs that you get thrown at you in terms of, happenings, events, interactions, and so forth that can kind of throw your timeline or throw you personally a little bit off the rails in terms of things that you have planned and, where you're heading in life. Sometimes these problems are of our own doing, and other times they are randomoid or just a product of a confluence of circumstances that put you in a bad spot. So, how to navigate your own personal timeline? Well, as difficult as it may be, I do adhere to the philosophy and the belief of Winston Churchill, who made the statement that regardless of how many times you fail, the ability to undertake every subsequent activity or undertaking with the same zeal, optimism, and gusto that you did despite your previous failings is what courage is all about, man. If you don't like how something went and maybe the outcome was directly related to the way you handled it, you really only have one thing you can do: fix the shit going forward. Period. That's really it. Life is one gigantic trial and error process. Now, naturally, we, as evolved beings, learn and process information. Empirical data, so to speak, where we will know more next week than we did this week. We will know more in 2 weeks than we do next week. We process the data and use the parts that we need. Now, I've stated before many times, you can look through someone as an example as to what to do and how to proceed in life, but don't forget, you can also learn how not to do things by watching people as they continue on their own personal timeline. Everybody's timeline obviously is unique and is their own. And even more obviously, as people, we're all different in our personalities. You may be a person that is overlooked for various reasons, for a lack of monetary wealth, a lack of physical size, physical attractiveness, or the fact that you yourself are a very quiet person. This may cause you to be overlooked. Now, the key is identifying and isolating the times that you need to not be overlooked, that you need to be taken seriously, and you need to be noticed and recognized. For some people, just to make their way through life, they have to pursue this type of recognition because the the overlooking of them is constant. There are other people who are more prone to drawing attention that can, quote unquote, let the game come to them in a manner of speaking. In other words, they don't have to extend and do too much, as their natural attractiveness, ability, wealth, stature, whatever it may be, is more than enough to affect their interaction with other people in society, and most of the time get the desired result that they want. Aesthetics, the visual, structure, what we see physically. These are the things that, or this particular thing, the visual of someone is the first thing you see and a massive part of your timeline with them. You see them, you're looking at them, you're talking to them. If you are fortunate enough to have sight, hearing, and be able to talk. For some, so many times, the physical appearance has kind of locked in their thought process and how they view others. And they can say, oh, no, it doesn't. If it does, this person may tell themselves that they get away from their perceived view of you from the first time they saw you. But if it's something that is pervasive in their minds, whether they want to admit it or not, it is an undercurrent of their dealings with you. There are, there are people's perceptions based on what they've seen in the past and certain attributes that a person may have that are glorified in pop culture or even overblown in pop culture. Case in point, I am Italian American on my mother's side. So there is a segment of the population that thinks that I am, quote unquote, connected, or that is one of the first things that they think of when they see me. Oh, he's a wise guy. It's Goomba, right? It's Italian guy. Well, I'm not connected. I can't be made. And as I like to say, there is no mafia. If there was one, I couldn't be made because I have Irish blood in me on my father's side. Now, the connotations that are taken with the mafia, organized crime, the way quote unquote made guys or Italian Americans are portrayed and perceived in pop culture, this can have some bearing on a person's dealing with you. They may revert back to what they believe or what that first perception of you was when they saw you, in terms of, well, in my dealing with this quote, with this Italian American person, this Italian guy, I may have formulated some thoughts based on what I've seen with other Italian American guys. In terms of if I reach a point in my flow chart or timeline with this person, I'm going to make the decision based on what I've seen and what I know, whether that perception is right or wrong. It's just a fact. Visual is huge, man. Again, as I said before, if you're fortunate enough to be able to see and have sight, visual and perception and how that all goes into the timeline, are factors in how we navigate our way through that timeline and interacting with other people. A person may tell themselves that they are not biased, but yet they have these deep-seated feelings of bias. It's an undercurrent in their lives. And they might not see it as dictating how they interact with, let's just say an example that I gave, how they interact with an Italian American. Okay. They do actually exist. And it is almost like muscle memory. It's just something that happens in terms of the way people deal with you and their perception with you, that it's built in because of the subconscious mind and what they think. Not everyone is like this. Many are open-minded and are going to just simply look at you based on your merits. To have an understanding that somebody may have struggled, to have an understanding that somebody's experience in life is decidedly and markedly different than yours, based on appearance or background or wealth or lack thereof. Okay, is to truly be open-minded. Now, there are many aspects, obviously, to our timeline and to life in general. Okay. For most of us, one of these is employment. Our trade, job, position, how we make money, how we engage in a currency-driven economy. Now, you have technical aspects of many jobs that are, quote unquote, not to be redundant, technical in nature. For instance, an IT professional. Okay. The expertise of this IT individual is what you count on when you need someone like this. Okay. So in this case, the technical aspect of the job really kind of overrides everything else. It may be, scratch that, it is the service industry, but more so than the entertainment and service industry, IT is, the technology associated with computers is incredibly necessary. So to equate it with the type of service industry that is equated with, restaurants, hospitality, and this nature, it's a little bit different. Now, at the same time, at the other end of the service industry, there are technical aspects to every job, bartending, let's just say, service and hospitality. Okay. Bartending, making drinks, working the point of sale system at the particular establishment that you work at, if there is indeed such a system. These are the technical aspects of it. The making of drinks, as I said before, working the point of sale system or cash register or handling cash, whatever it may be. But at the heart of this business and so many businesses where we have a workplace, where we interact with people, it is still a people business. Hell, man. I've played quarterback and I've been a head coach and quarterback coach. And I go through all of my technical, mechanical advice, directives, thought processes, reminders, knowing that they are technical and necessary, but that beyond these technical aspects, for myself as a coach and for the quarterback as the quarterback, it's a people business. It's a people business. Our timeline, by and large, for the most part, unless you work at home and have no friends and deal with no one all day, every day, our timeline is driven in large part by our interactions with people. You can still navigate your way through this timeline, even if you're not a people person, even if you are not a quote unquote people person. I am myself, in as much as I had to be, playing quarterback, being a head coach. I understand that I may be a bit of a loner on my own, in my private life. I may be a bit of a loner, but that in this aspect of my life and my work and my coaching, teaching, so forth, I have got to be a people person. Again, we're talking about things that drive our timeline. That's what we're talking about. Things that drive our timeline. Now, well, I'm not a people person. I really don't like people. Okay, I get that. All right. You really only need to know one thing. Treat people how you'd like to be treated. I'm sorry. Two things. Treat people how you would like to be treated. And you do this by having respect for the fact that their experience could be different, and not only different, it could be worse and more difficult than yours was. Open-minded empathy, a desire to understand. If you're able to do that, you don't have to be a gregarious, you know what I mean, ha, 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 laughing, joking type of person to be a good enough people person to navigate your way through your own timeline. Follow the golden rule. Treat people with empathy and respect until they give you a reason not to. And that part can be hard for people because you go into something in good faith and then somebody violates that faith, then naturally you're pissed off. Naturally, you're mad, okay? But this life is not without bruising, people. So you still need to approach all these situations the same way in terms of your dealing with people. Empathy, respect, until they cross that line and don't deserve the respect, and handle it accordingly. This is all part of the trip. You can be enough of a people person without being the life of the party that people will still respect you and want to work with you and have no problem with you. You are not biting your tongue or changing who you are in order to do this by treating others the way you would like to be treated and showing them the initial respect and empathy in regards to their situation, which, hey, everybody's situation previous to this brought us to this point. This is where we're at in our timeline, man. It's right now. We might not like it, but we got to accept it. We have to deal with it. And I understand it could be a bitch if these cocksuckers call me one more fucking time. I understand it could be a bitch. I get it. I understand it. There's extra stuff like these customer service jackoffs who either want to sell you something or keep you using their product, and they overdo it, right? We've talked about marketing swerves. We've talked about the dang old internet being all up in your business all the time and how irritating it could be, man. But the main thing is It's still about people. And it's still about navigating your way through your timeline and dealing with people in the most effective way possible. Okay? The most effective way possible. And again, to repeat, it is the golden rule: treat others as you wish to be treated, and empathy for their situation that brought them to this point. Make no assumptions. Could be better, could be worse, their situation that led them to their position in the timeline now. Obviously, you're going to demand the same out of them in regards to how they treat you. So many times when things become complicated, it always comes back to the basics. It's all about how you handle shit, man. How are you going to handle shit? How are you going to fucking handle it? How is it going to be handled? In what way will it be handled? Well, you're in charge of that, man. It's your timeline. Boys and girls, it's your timeline. How are you going to handle it? Will you choose convenience over honor? It's up to you. You have to understand that you may be a person, I know I am, a person that places incredible value on loyalty. Understand that not everyone in this life, if you are predisposed to placing a high value on loyalty, and it really means something to you, understand there's a massive segment of the population that does not see it like you do. They just don't. Not going to get into the whys. They just don't. So don't be surprised when they don't. This is going to sound incredibly obvious. All you can expect people to be is what they are. To expect anything else is foolishness. That's all you can expect out of them. They've been being who they are up until this point in their timeline. And that's really all you can expect out of them. There are those that we meet and encounter in our timeline. Some are our friends, our long-term friends, that view honor and loyalty in a very specific way. They place a high value on it, okay? And we're fortunate to have those people. When you talk about honor and loyalty, and you talk about the things that constitute interaction with people, our hearts, our souls, our conscience, these are truly the things that money can't buy. They truly are. Now, hey, look, you still need money to get around. I'm not stupid. I know that. But the price of effort, selflessness, and, as I say all the time, helping our fellow human being is well worth it. Approach every undertaking with the same optimism and zeal, despite your previous failings. Execute your timeline to the best of your ability. If you do that, you will have nothing to be ashamed of. You will live a fulfilled life. You will be able to look back on it and say that, hey, I got out of it what I wanted and moreover what I put into it. I'm Johnny Kane. Don't let your timeline get all fucked up. We'll see you next time.